Hello and welcome to UMD News for this hour. I am Shimelis Meresa Gebremichael. In the headlines, survivors of sexual violence deserve justice and accountability, says Amnesty International. UN agency warns over cholera outbreak in Ethiopia as 20 deaths reported. Ethiopian and Tigray peace deal said could help jumpstart the country's economy. And now, we'll move into the news in details. We invite you all to stay with the program. In the meantime, please do not forget to like and share our programs and subscribe to our YouTube channel. This is UMD News with me, Shimelis Meresa Gebremichael, coming to you live via Horn Broadcasting Services and through other social media outlets. First up, survivors of sexual violence deserve justice and accountability, says Amnesty International. On the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women and the beginning of 16 days of activism against gender-based violence, Amnesty International is reiterating its call to mediators in the ongoing peace process on Ethiopia to prioritize justice for survivors, including survivors of sexual violence in the 2-year war. Amnesty International's Deputy Regional Director for East Africa, the Horn of Africa, and the Great Lakes region, Flavia Mongovia, said the African Union must urgently pressure the Ethiopian government to fully cooperate with both regional and international investigative mechanisms on human rights to ensure justice for victims and survivors of violations, especially sexual violence. He further noted that the Ethiopian authorities must urgently allow unfettered access to the International Commission of Human Rights Experts on Ethiopia and the African Commission on Human and People's Rights to enable investigations to take place and ultimately to ensure those responsible for atrocities in Ethiopia's 2-year war face justice. On the 2nd of November 2022, Amnesty International launched a campaign which highlights the atrocities committed by all sides to the conflict. It also called on the international community to stand in solidarity with survivors and victims of sexual violence during the war or the conflicts. The exhibition will also be showcased in London on the 28th and 29th of November 2022 during the Preventing Sexual Violence in Conflict Initiative, shortly named as PSVI conference. On the 2nd of November 2022, the government of Ethiopia and the Tigray People's Liberation Front TPLF signed a peace agreement. It well indicated, however, that the accord fails to offer a clear roadmap on how to ensure accountability for war crimes and crimes against humanity and overlooks rampant impunity in the country, which could lead to violations being repeated. Several international institutions repeatedly reported that all actors committed serious human rights violations and abuses, including extrajudicial executions, summary killings, and sexual violence against women and girls. The abuses documented by Amnesty International in the conflict include war crimes and crimes against humanity. UN agency warns over cholera outbreak in Ethiopia as 20 deaths reported. The United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, UNOCHA, warned over the ongoing cholera outbreak in southeastern Ethiopia as 20 deaths reported so far in its latest situation update issued. The OCHA said Thursday that some 491 cholera cases, including 20 deaths, have been reported in the affected areas as of on Wednesday, November 23, 2022. Xinhua reports the cholera outbreak has spread out to 41 localities of 4 districts in the Bale zone of the Oromia region and 2 districts of Liban zone of the Somali region, it said. According to the UN OCHA, close to 555,000 people are currently at high risk of the ongoing cholera outbreak in the 6 affected districts. Figures from UN OCHA show that the caseload of affected people has increased by 28% in the last 2 weeks, with new daily cases reported in Berbera, Gura, Damole, Kwarsadula districts. The report indicates in Gurra Damole district of Liban zone, cholera cases are expanding at high pace, especially across internally displaced people IDP sites, where more than 60% of the new affected caseloads are recorded. The Ethiopian Public Health Institute, APHI, the Oromia and Somali Regional Health Bureaus, the World Health Organization, WHO, UN Children's Fund, UNICEF, and partners are presently supporting the scale-up of health as well as water, sanitation, and hygiene activities in priority areas. The UN OCHA, however, stressed that the ongoing response is hindered by insufficient funding and limited partners' presence. He warned that coping mechanisms of the affected communities have been deteriorating due to multiple consecutive shocks, notably the current drought, conflict leading to high prevalence of malnutrition, especially among the IDP's community, shortage of water, sanitation and hygiene treatment, chemicals, limited amount of water shortage items, insufficient water tracking capacity, as well as many non-functional water schemes are said to be among the major gaps affecting the responses of efforts. The International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies, IFRC, had last month indicated that the latest cholera outbreak is drought-related, as Ethiopia is currently experiencing one of the most severe droughts in recent history. Ethiopian and Tigray peace deal said it could help jumpstart the country's economy. With a peace deal, there is optimism that counting on its big population and vast electricity generation capacity, Addis Ababa can quickly forge an economic comeback. Africa News, in its business edition, talked to Zamadina Negatu, chairman of the Fairfax Africa Fund. While joining the show to talk about the opportunities to end the conflict opens for Ethiopia's economy, Zamadina said, amidst the war and the pandemic, Addis Ababa's GDP slowed from 9% in 2019 to 6.1% in 2020, 6.2% in 2021. However, the IMF predicts a growth of just only 3.8% in 2022. In addition, the country also faces mounting debt and has run to its creditors seeking relief. But that too is dependent on whether the government can agree to a financing deal with the IMF. The discussion found out, adding, dwindling foreign exchange reserves have piled pressure on the birr, leading to inflation. It was also indicated in the discussion that overall the conflict has been a loss for Ethiopia's image as a top FDI destination and its years of double-digit growth. The Medina indicated that with a peace deal, there is optimism that counting on its big population and vast electricity generation capacity, Addis Ababa can quickly forge an economic comeback. It is to be recalled that Ethiopia and Tigray forces have recently signed peace deal in Pretoria, South Africa, following by military modalities by chief of both forces. Reports indicate that the 2 years of ferocious fighting has resulted in the economic devastation of the country, which calls for international actors to take part where it is dependent on the implementations of the modalities stipulated in peace agreement between the two forces. And finally, Ethiopia reiterates readiness to restore peace in Tigray. The Ethiopian Deputy Prime Minister, Mekonnen, reiterated that the government has the firm intention of restoring constitutional order and restoring peace in Tigray. Prensa Latina reports that the Mekonnen made the statement during the meeting with Nigerian Foreign Minister Geoffrey Inyama in Niamey, the capital of Niger, in the context of the extraordinary summit on industrialization and economic diversification of the African Union. According to the report, the Deputy Prime Minister also explained how the application of the peace agreement signed with the Tigray People's Liberation Front, TPLF, on November the 2nd in Pretoria, South Africa is progressing, and he also reviewed aspects of Ethiopian updates. He said the regular provision of humanitarian aid has already begun, the rehabilitation of social services in all areas affected by the conflict is advancing, and there are many ongoing efforts to rebuild the damaged infrastructure. The Deputy Prime Minister assured we are very interested in strict and prompt compliance concerning the pact with the TPLF. We have adopted practical measures aimed to restructuring a promising situation for the future of the nation. On the other hand, Inyama said that Nigeria is happy with the signing of the pact because Africa has demonstrated the ability to solve by itself problems of its countries. He added his country and the administration are ready to provide the possible support for the successful implementation of the settlement arrangement between the parties in the conflict. The statement also noted that the ministries agreed to work on strengthening a strategic multilateral cooperation between the two nations, whose population accounts for nearly 28% of Africa's population. Well, dear listeners and viewers, with that we come to the end of the news for today. This has been UMD Media News with me, Shimelis Meresa Gebremichael. UMD's program came to you via Horn Broadcasting Services HBS and through different social media outlets like YouTube, Facebook and Twitter. Please do not forget to like and share our programs and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you for watching and have a good one.